Hello everyone, I'm Tracy. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to be going into the recent firing of LA Fire Chief Chief Crowley by Mayor Bass. I'm going to explain what's been going on recently and give my opinion on why I think this is happening and why I think certain things are being said. I also have a leaked phone call that was taken a few days before the fire started. That is very revealing as far as what Mayor Bass knew before the incident. So I'm going to actually start out with that call. And thank you to O'Keefe Media for attaining this call. And this was, again, it was done on the 4th of January. And it's regarding her trip to Ghana that she took right before the fire started. So I'll let you hear it here.
The situation is very dangerous, and I would never do. I will take the criticism before I do a publicity stunt. And frankly, a press conference at this point in time would just be publicity.
I think the neighbors, the property owners,
yeah,
and the residents. I mean, 41,000 people live within a square mile here.
Yeah.
Two families share a one-bedroom apartment.
But they want to hear that something is going to be done.
They want to know it's recognized. But they want to know it's recognized.
Exactly. But if I have a choice between that and compromising something, I just have to go along with it. It's not my area of expertise. I want to make sure that you are safe. And hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And when I am able to talk, I will be happy to go into great detail.
Okay. And you've got me on the street, and you're welcome to call me at any time. I'll call you right back.
No problem. And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden extends me an invitation, I took it.
Okay, so I'm going to just say up front, I don't think Mayor Bass knew that the fire was going to happen this way. I think she knew something was going to happen, but this conversation makes me think that she is implying that something was going to happen to MacArthur Park. So for those of you a little less familiar with MacArthur Park, it's in downtown LA. It's in a very congested area, highly populated area. It's known for the homeless people, the drug use. I guess there's even people selling weapons. It's one of those parks where there's just chaos. It's not a park that you would go and take your kids to. I've driven by it many, many times. And it's just one of those parks that's overrun by, people up to no good. So there was a shooting there in December, and there was money given to clean up the park. And this has happened before. They've cleaned up the park before, and it keeps going back to what it is. And I think she thought that something was going to happen to that park. So I think that's what's going on. She didn't say anything about other areas, but I think she knew that when she was on her trip, that something maybe dangerous was going to happen. And so she was concerned about that person she was talking to. Again, I don't know who that person, as far as who she thought that person was, but she does give a cryptic message that she knew something was going to happen. And it also implies that President Biden, who was the president at that time, kind of maybe got her to go away. But she doesn't say that a fire was going to happen. So I can't say that. And I don't think she knew exactly what was going to happen. I think when it comes to these types of events, it's an as needed only. So if you don't need to know, you probably don't know. And I'll bring up the example from Maui when Lahaina burned. The fire chief, I'll bring a picture. His name was Brad Ventura. Was actually out of town, and he did not know what was happening. He made a call to one of the council members, and it was evident he didn't know that the fire was happening. And this was after the fire had been going on for hours. So he was, I don't know if it was on purpose, but he was out of town. The governor of Hawaii was out of town. The police chief was on the island, but the mayor of Maui was on the island, but his whereabouts are unknown. That the hours where the town was really burning, there was an excuse that he had a doctor's appointment and didn't know what was going on. I don't know exactly where he was, but he was left in the dark. And that's another reason I think that when these plans go forth, very few people know what's really going to happen. It's only if they need to do something are they informed of what's going to go down. Okay, and then here are some clips of Mayor Bass discussing things, and this is after the fire.
Let me just say that yes, as the mayor of the city, the buck stops with me. I am in charge. However, the person in charge of the fire department, as I mentioned before, whenever there was a fire emergency, a weather emergency, or a hint of a problem, I am contacted directly.
When I talked about it with the fire chief, what she said is that we have warnings of Santa Ana winds a lot, but predicting this, and you saw, from the city, from the county, that level of preparation really didn't happen. So it didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip.
So maybe she wasn't informed. There's a good chance she wasn't, but it wasn't the fire chief's job to tell her. She has aides. She has, a lot of people that, should have informed her that there was a high fire risk. All right. And then just because they're Santa Anas, it doesn't mean there's going to be a fire. Santa Anas don't normally come through in January, and they're not usually that intense. I mean, the winds were clocked at like 80 to 100 miles an hour. That's like hurricane level winds. Santa Ana winds are usually a lot slower. All right. And this is Jesus Enrique Rojas. I really like his take on things. And he's also going to point out how Mayor Bass is going to contradict herself.
The fire chief must have told you, hey, you know what, we have this problem. And you might be thinking of preparing for this. And now she wants to save face. I mean, I've seen so many times people that contradict themselves over the same minute. You can have like an Instagram reel or a TikTok video, 59 seconds. And people over 59 seconds, they contradict themselves. They tell on themselves. They say one thing, oh, I was not aware. And just 30 seconds later, they say, oh yeah, we got these warnings, but not for something this size.
And when you're lying, that's when you contradict yourself. If you're telling the truth, your story stays consistent, unless you're extremely savvy. But I don't think she is. Okay, here's one more clip from Jesus.
The fire chief reached out to you, and you still want to sell your story that you had nothing to do with it.
And maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip.
Why didn't
But to me, I don't know. I mean, I think that's one of the things we need to look at. So 2 investigations are taking place.
What kind of investigations are taking place is my question. It piques my curiosity.
One internal to the city, and that's the Fire Commission, because that's mandated by the city charter. Mm-hmm. So the commission will hire an outside entity to examine everything, the pre-deployment, why were firefighters sent home, all of that should have taken place that didn't.
That sounds like they were sent home because there were no water to work with in the first place.
And then also the governor has contracted with the Fire Safety Research Institute, which is a national institute that investigated what happened in the fires in Maui.
All right, another reference to Maui. If you haven't seen my video on Governor Newsom when he talks about what happened he actually talks about having a conversation with Governor Josh Green of Hawaii and, getting advice from him. So they are definitely in touch with the officials on Maui, getting advice, kind of following their lead. And this group that she is using for this investigation also did the event in New York where those towers came down. So we're seeing a pattern here. Okay. And so now we're going to talk about the recent firing. And so, my strong opinion is that the only reason that Chief Crowley is getting fired is because she spoke the truth. And that is why I don't think she should be taken off her post. Yes, the mayor and the governor definitely should, but Chief Crowley certainly didn't know that this was a planned event. And I think she did what she could with what she was given. And here's her talking to Jake Tapper about the cuts that were the budget cuts that were that affected her department.
Let me be clear. The $17 million budget cut and the elimination of our civilian positions like our mechanics did and has and will continue to severely impact our ability to repair our apparatus. So with that, we have over 100 fire apparatus out of service, and having these apparatus in the proper amount of mechanics would have helped. And so it did absolutely negatively impact. I want to also be clear that I have, over the last 3 years, been clear that the fire department needs help. We can no longer sustain where we are. We do not have enough firefighters. With that, I have also requested multiple budgets, interim budgets, to show how understaffed, under-resourced, and underfunded the LAFD is. So with that, also, we have clear data that shows the LAFD needs more help. We need 62 more fire stations. These reports also show that we've had a 55% increase in overall call volume since 2010. And guess what? We're doing it with less firefighters. I was also directed to develop a plan as part of a budget reduction exercise, and that could equate to $48.8 million. And I rang the bell that these additional cuts could be very, very devastating for our ability to provide public safety. That would have resulted to 15 fire stations closing down and potentially the elimination of over 300 firefighters.
All right, so Chief Crowley has support not just from the LA City Council, but from the president of the LA Firefighters Union, and his name is Freddie Escobar, and this is what he has to say of the cuts and the firing.
Our firefighters stand united in saying that this was a grave mistake by the mayor to treat our fire chief like this, to throw her under the bus and make her a scapegoat. We didn't have enough engines or trucks. You know why? Because they're in our field repair shops, maintenance yard, because we don't have enough mechanics to fix them. Mechanics that were cut by Mayor Bass's budget.
All right, so you hear it from the president of the fire union saying that there have been cuts and this affected their ability to fight these fires. And this isn't a new thing. He said this years ago. And here is Freddie Escobar talking about the department 2 years ago.
Freddie Escobar, president of the United Firefighters of LA City, insists the public is safe, but he admits the LA Fire Department has needed help for quite some time.
I came on in May of 1989. We were averaging 500 calls a day. Today, we average approximately 2,000 calls a day, and we have fewer fire stations and fewer members today than we did 33 plus years ago. They're working 5, 7, 10 days in a row without any relief because we didn't have the staffing that this city should represent. UFLEC has educated the council and also our command staff that we need to continue to hire and we need to staff the fire department correctly.
So it was known that these cuts were detrimental to the fire department, yet there was nothing done. And we'll see if there's something done at this point, but it's a little too late. Okay, and I'm going to also play this clip, and he is responding to the accusation that Mayor Bass said about about the fire chief not doing an after action report. Now, something about after action reports, these are very involved reports. They're many pages long. Looking at the one from Maui, that one took about a year. And, these are not something that are just, put out, right away. Even a month is not enough time. So by her saying there is no after action report, she's not lying, but it's unreasonable for her to expect one to be done this quickly. So, and here's him talking about the after action report.
So she said that she was removed for not doing an investigation. It's inaccurate. The fire chief at Fire Commission was asked to do a after action report. This is the largest fire in Los Angeles. We're doing an after action report. We're doing it really with like a combined operations with state, federal, city, and also county leaders to find out what happened, what we could learn from it. And it's going to take months, if not, or maybe even over a year, to have a very comprehensive, non-biased report. She's doing it.
Right. My guess is that there is going to be a bias report put out by the Fire Safety Research Institute. But like I said, they did the one for Maui and they did one in New York over 20 years ago. So I certainly think that the mayor is throwing Chief Crowley under the bus for speaking the truth and telling the public what really happened. And Chief Crowley, those are the kind of people we need to stay in their positions. Newsom and Mayor Bass, their main job right now is to cover up what really happened, to make it seem like they did all they could. And that is my strong opinion. And this is coming off of analyzing and researching the fire in Maui for a year and a half now. So I know I did a poll asking all of you what you thought should happen, if the chief should stay in her positions or should she be let go, or if you didn't care. The vast majority of you said that yes, the fire chief should go, but in the comments there was an overwhelming opinion that Newsom and Bass are really the ones that should be let go. They should be resigning. And this was also the sentiment given after Maui. Yet the governor and the mayor, everyone is actually still in their positions and they have no intention of quitting. Now, I do want to kind of contrast what's happening here with what happened with Brad Ventura, the fire chief in Maui. He was left in the dark as far as what was happening. And when he came back, he just did what he was told. He put this presentation together, or he said that he put this presentation together, but it was done by someone else. And he had to lie and, give the public what the other people wanted him to say. And by what other people, I mean, the globalist agenda, the ones that are behind these events. So I guess what happens is if you go along with the narrative and just do what you say, you'll keep your job. And if you don't, you get fired. So I think there's also this intention of making an example of Chief Crowley. If you go against what we say, this is what happens. And we've seen this happen many times in other departments, in other aspects, in the corporate arena, public politics. It's just how it is. For someone to come forward and speak the truth, or a whistleblower, you're not treated very, very well. In fact, there are people that are arrested and put in prison for telling the truth when it comes to important things like this. I'm going to also put up some visuals just to prove my point here. This is regarding the budget cuts that the department got just a week before the fires happened. So I don't know why they would have done this. It's known for at least 10 years that California and Southern California is in a high-risk fire area. There have been fires every year, and very destructive fires, not just in Southern California, but in Northern California. But, there's no logical reason why they would have cut the budget in this way. Okay, and this is a quote from Rick Caruso. Now, he is a developer, so he has a big development in the Palisades, but in other areas as well. So he's supporting the fire chief and saying that it was not right that the mayor, took her off her position. I do want to give a little background on who Rick Caruso is as well. He ran against Mayor Bass in this last election and lost. And I think he's positioning himself for another run at mayor. And I think the public and the state that we're in right now, I do think that LA is ready for change. And I do think he has a good chance of winning this time. I don't remember if I voted for him. I might have. He's very wealthy and he has a lot of influence in the city. And I'm not sure exactly what his intentions are, but I would say he's better than who we have right now. Okay, and here is a quote from Monica Rodriguez. She is a member of the Los Angeles City Council. And there are 15 council members. My understanding is that if enough council members vote to keep Chief Crowley in her position, they can overturn the mayor's decision. But I don't know if there's going to be enough support for that. I would like to see a vote being done, but unless there's enough support to keep her in that position, I'm not sure if that will even happen. But she's one of the council members that has been speaking out, and she is outraged by the scapegoating revealed by the mayor's actions, and she plans to use her authority in the city council to set the record straight and encourage Chief Crowley to appeal the mayor's baseless termination to the city council. So I really hope there is some support here, because the only wrong thing that Chief Crowley did was speak the truth. I don't think if there was another person in that position, things would have turned out much differently. And, again, we saw that in Maui. The real problem is much bigger. These decisions are coming from a much higher level. And the people that we're discussing here are at the bottom. And they're also providing, distraction. Because, see, now we're talking about this versus the true cause of these disasters. So that's going to do it. I'm going to continue to follow this story. We put this together really last minute because I thought it was important that I said something and kind of clear up what, people are saying this and that, but I really think it's just a situation where someone spoke up, wasn't supposed to, and so now that person is being let go. But the problem is much more serious than that. So thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so before you leave, and like, comment, and share this video so we can let as many people know what's really going on here. So yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you guys, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.